Absolute pleasure, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Obviously, we've known each other now for going on for about 3 years. I think we met at Dev Brighton 3 years ago. But for those people at home that are not too familiar with your face, do you want to tell the people who you are?
Yeah, my name's Kurtis Lamb. I'm the senior backend engineer working for CCP Games. So I predominantly work on the EVE Vanguard title while interfacing a little bit with the 25-year-old EVE Online game.
Amazing. And you've been at CCP now for how long?
4 years. 4 years.
And how did you? I know you were a big EVE Online player, weren't you? Initially, was that your initial role to step into the company?
Yeah, so I've been playing EVE Online since 2007. I kind of went down a fintech, insurtech route, working on infrastructure on those sides of it. And then around 4 years ago, when EVE Vanguard was starting to ramp up, there was a requirement to really beef up the back-end servers and infrastructure. And it turns out that a lot of video games actually operate in a very similar manner to infrastructure that, say, fintech, banks, etc. would use. So it's just a natural segue for me to move in. It helps that obviously as an EVE player, I was very passionate about the EVE universe. So it was just a natural yes straight away for me.
Amazing. So CCP Games, obviously it's a very well-known studio in the gaming industry, but there may be some people out there that haven't heard of CCP or don't quite understand the full story behind CCP and the journey that they've been on. Are you happy to or able to share a little bit more about CCP as a whole?
Yeah. So EVE Online is probably the game most people know of our brand. It's been around or in development for well into 2 decades, 3 decades now. So we are predominantly an Icelandic company. That's where it first started. I've been playing EVE Online since, let's say, 2007. And we have now an office in London. We also have an office in Shanghai, where we're working on a plethora of games within kind of that New Eden universe. Again, to just kind of further that goal of EVE Forever. What's interesting about where we're at the moment is working on both a 25-year-old code base and then working on new titles. We're starting to see the old and the new mixed together, and it creates very interesting challenges that maybe other studios don't necessarily have when you're always working from a clean slate every time. But we strive for things like persistence and stuff like that, so that does create challenges overall for where we're at.
Amazing. And obviously, since joining CCP, obviously you guys are now working on a new title, EVE Vanguard.
Yep.
How's that going?
Really good, yeah. We're very much on the on-ramp, so we've got a big event happening in September 2005, and then we're looking at potentially more access next year into summer. We're just in that point now where we're getting all that infrastructure in place, getting all the underlying services ready, just making sure that when players touch the game for the first time, it's just perfect.
And it's because I know obviously the mentality of CCP is you want EVE to outlast all of us, if I'm correct.
Yes, very much EVE Forever. We're very much into our 3rd decade of EVE Online, and that's something we're going to continue. I very much want to hand over my EVE accounts to my daughter. So for us, bringing new games like EVE Vanguard do help kind of that EVE Forever mission.
Absolutely. I think it will bring a new wave of players because it's a different type of game.
Yes, 100%.
But it's still in the same universe, so it's really cool.
Yeah, a boots on the ground experience in the EVE universe, trying to see the scale of EVE from a single pair of eyes is a completely different way of looking at the game, and one I'm thoroughly enjoying working on.
Amazing. And has it been challenging working on a new project like that?
It's been interesting working with a game that's 25 years old and comparing the different tech stacks and the different approaches. Certainly, we're using a completely different stack to EVE Online, and that does present challenges. But also, it's offering a lot of benefits to the older game, in a sense of we get to pathfind and test new technologies and things before we have to affect the overall EVE universe, which is a lot bigger change to make. So certainly more beneficial for the overall kind of CCP ecosystem.
Amazing. And I think one of the partners you've partnered with to help you with EVE Vanguard, at least for the game orchestration, is Nitrado.
Yes, correct.
So do you mind sharing a little bit about your journey with those guys and why you picked those for the game orchestration?
Yeah, so we actually did a talk with them this year at DevCom because we were so happy with the way that relationship is going. So a number of years ago, we were unceremoniously removed from our hosting provider, which sent us on a bit of an adventure, shall we say, to find what session game provider we want to use for our game servers. After around a couple of years, we've arrived at Nitrado's Game Fabric product, because after an extensive, I think probably around a year of really evaluating every provider in the market, we found that filled our niche significantly. Certainly as just 4 engineers working on the whole backend for EVE Vanguard, we need a team that supports how we work. And that very much was them. I would also say kind of their product is very much on the forefront of the kind of hosting world right now.
Yeah.
And we get to leverage bare metal as well.
Yeah. I think it's, we may not work directly with each other, but indirectly we do. And that partnership, working closely with Nitrado, it just has so much value because we get to know, when you're building towards things and launch dates and working back from them and just making sure you're set and ready to go. So.
Yeah, and I will say the fact that Servers.com and Nitrado work so closely together was a big win for us when we decided to go with Nitrado. Like, we've known each other for quite a while, and I'm very aware of your products, and I've always been a big fan of them. But to leverage where you were at didn't make sense for us at the time. So this is the best of both worlds now. We get to work with you, and we don't have to build as much as we would have needed to.
Yeah, and I think that's anyone who's making a multiplayer game, there's so many options out there. You don't have to do it yourself, or you can. And obviously there are reasons for pros and for and against. But like yourselves going down the Nitrado route and using that managed orchestration is a huge value and asset. So, Kurt, you've just mentioned obviously your partnership with Nitrado, but if you were to give some advice based on your own experience and journey, what would you say to developers when it comes to for them picking the right orchestration, whether they do it themselves or managed orchestration route?
I think you need to find a provider that's going to grow with you across your journey. So you need to find a provider that is quite self-managed early on, but has the potential to bring both cloud and bare metal further down the line without needing to change or advance your product. Certainly when we looked at Nitrado, the ability to use their bare metal, your bare metal, on Nitrado and then bring AWS Cloud is a massive win for us. It means as for engineers, we don't have to spend a lot of time managing Kubernetes clusters, keeping them updated, dealing with that underlying infrastructure. VLAN, no. We can effectively work on building that game server, getting that across, spanning that across the globe without having to get into the underlying infrastructure layer. So for us, it's that balance and that, not quite hand-holding, but that growing with us as we need, so that's super important.
And I think, touching on what you just said there, the providers that really, I think, go above and beyond, every game is built differently. So trying to create some managed orchestration black box solution that's going to be a one-fit-all stuff for all developers just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So having someone that will like Nitrado who can work very closely, listen to your requirements for your particular project, and then work with you on that is a huge, huge win.
Yeah, and I think if we get more into the technical detail on that point, I mean, Agonies and Kubernetes certainly seems to be the direction the industry is going from a hosting point of view. If you want to hire 5 engineers at the start of your project to manage and host a Kubernetes clusters, by all means, but that's very expensive. And as we know in the industry right now, money is not freely flowing. So going to a provider that's capable of doing all that for you and giving you the freedom back and the opportunity cost to go work on more project-specific stuff rather than the kind of admin cost of maintaining and hosting all these solutions. It's really big towards making the success of your game because money is a big important factor, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's always that transitioning process. I think, most studios need managed orchestration and need to definitely not just entertaining the cloud, but entertaining those hybrid solutions because, like you said, with that additional support and having that leverage, that experience of someone that does that for a living, takes a huge weight off the shoulders. You can focus, like you said, on the game.
Yeah.
To make it fun.
And I think there was a very interesting point you raised there about the combination of bare metal and cloud. And I know this is something we've been talking around for the last 3-4 years of which is better. And I think the argument is largely null and void because the argument is always both.
Yeah.
And I think these solutions, particularly for newer studios or studios starting a new title, having that just immediately off the bat to scale into the cloud for events when you need, or have bare metal for that persistent baseline, and just have them work without any complexity is a really powerful feature.
I'm really excited to start playing some Vanguard myself.
Yeah, I mean, more than welcome to pop over after some time and have a play on it.
I would love to, yeah, absolutely. Kurt, absolute pleasure, mate.
Thank you very much for having me down.